Hello, my name is actually Madison Renee Smith Lunnen. I go by Madelyn though because I don't like the name Madison. And, my mom is not a fan of it either. She said that she would name me something different if she could go back. Yeah, she should have named me something different. But that's okay. Madelyn is a nice name. And I'm 21 years old right now, and I'm at BYU. I study history. It's just some general stuff about myself. I am the oldest of 6 children, and my parents are Kirk Mitchell Lunnen and Dawn Marie Smith Lunnen. And, I said I'm the oldest. I have a brother who's currently 19. His name is Spencer Daniel, and he's in the Marines stationed in Pendleton, California. It's the coolest thing. He's in the infantry, and he is killing it. That was not the best way to put it. And then I have Rachel Ann Lunnen. She just turned 18, and she is coming down to BYU soon in the fall. I'm really, really excited. And then we have Kate Elizabeth Lunnen. She's 15. She is a really great actress. She's in lots of plays, and she gets really big roles, consistently bigger roles every time. Right now, she is playing the preacher's wife in Footloose. And I think my favorite play that she was in, though, she was in The Snow Queen, and she played Gerda, and I love The Snow Queen. The play and the book are so good. And then I have Jillian Marie Lunnen. She is 11. She's 13. Yeah, Olive's almost 11. She's 13, and she does track and field and cross country, and she's just really good. She's really athletic. It's awesome. Really proud of her for that. And then we have Olivia Arlene Lunnen, and she's 10, but she turns 11 May 15th. That's coming up really soon, because today is April 25th, 2017. And she's super artistic, and she writes stories a lot. She wrote me this great story for my birthday about a town that chooses its mayor by having people climb down the well. Her handwriting is really hard to read, so I'm not exactly sure what else happened, but I think 2 kids climbed down the well, and it was really cute. She drew a little picture, and it was in purple sparkly pen. I liked it. She also drew me a picture for Valentine's Day of a little monster that she copied from the internet. It's cute. She told me I should check out her mystical creatures board on Pinterest because she has a lot more like it. It's fabulous. So my dad works at the Veterans Clinic in Whitefield. It's not Whitefield. Something Oregon, something white in the name. I can't remember. Anyway, he works there, and he's in charge of the unit that evaluates people for PTSD. He's also an adjunct professor at Southern Oregon University, teaches psychology, and he's in the Air National Guard that's stationed in Klamath Falls. When we lived in Pennsylvania, he was professor of psychology at Westminster University. It was really cool. He loved it. And he was a director of some sorts at People in Need, and he was in the Air Force Reserves in Pittsburgh. He had some cool jobs there. Still has cool jobs in Oregon, too. And my mom, she stays at home, and she, just kind of makes everything run really smoothly. She's really awesome at that. And she does stuff with her friends. She's always helping them with things. And she's just driving kids everywhere and stuff. She's really busy a lot. But she always finds time to talk to me, which is nice. And I always talk to my dad, too, almost every day. It's really nice. I talk to Ray a lot on the phone. Talked to Olive yesterday. Kate and Jill are the ones I usually miss, which is sad. And I do talk to Spencer on the weekends because he has time off. And so I do have a set of grandparents. I have Raymond Boyd and Bertha Jo Lunnen. Those are my dad's parents, and they live up in Heron, and they're pretty cool. My mom also has parents named Roland and Nina. I haven't seen them in a while though, but they live in Salt Lake. My brother, so Spencer, Ray, and I were born in Ohio, but my family moved to Washington soon after. I can't remember how old I was, probably 4 or 3 or something like that, probably 4. And that was me trying to brush my glasses up. I forgot I had them off. Oh, whoops, okay. I almost apologized to the microphone for hitting it. So we moved to Washington Air Force Base because my dad was active duty. and I went to school there. I went to kindergarten. And my next door neighbor was Alexis Oldham. She was my best friend. And I had another friend named Amanda. I can't remember much else about her. And I had a friend named Aspen Burpee too, and he had a sister named Winter. So we lived on this Air Force Base, Fairchild, and there was also this kid named Kyle that I went to school with. I remember I didn't like Kyle. We used to scratch each other on the bus, and one day he punched me in the forehead, except we're really little, so it wasn't really a punch. It was more like, it was dumb. I told my teacher later, and she didn't really do anything. And then Kyle moved to Iceland, and I remember being really excited because I thought he would be cold all the time. Little did I know that Iceland is actually a really nice place, and Kyle got to go on an adventure. But that's okay, because we moved to Pennsylvania a few years later, because, Pennsylvania is on par with Iceland in terms of adventure. So my dad wanted to leave the Air Force. He wanted to just kind of be a civilian again. So he was in the process of leaving, and then 9/11 happened. And I don't remember a whole lot about 9/11. I remember watching it on TV. And so he was in the middle of leaving, and I guess they stalled everyone else's leaving except for his. So he was one of the only ones they let leave because he was in the middle of it. And his replacement, Captain Candy, such an awesome name. She was actually sent to Afghanistan. So I am really happy that my dad didn't go to Afghanistan. Another interesting thing that happened, though, while we were in Washington was that around 9/11, they started searching our cars. And I remember I have this very distinct memory of them taking one of those giant dentist mirrors, like a really giant one, and just sticking it in our car and searching. It was interesting. We all had to get out while they searched. I kind of wanted one of those giant dentist mirrors. Don't have one. I don't know where you get one. Some of my family members are really, really big into family history. And somewhere along the line, someone found out that Pocahontas is our 12th great-grandmother. And holy cow, is my dad excited when he found that out. Again, with the glasses, trying to push him up. Well, anyway, he was just over the moon. He tells everybody that we are related to Pocahontas. And he spent a couple weeks making himself a genealogy chart that shows directly how we go to Pocahontas, except he only put himself on it. That's it. It goes Pocahontas all the way down to Kirk Lunnen. So I asked him for a copy of it. And he said he'll mail me one, or mail me the template or whatever, the file. But I'll have to add my own name. So one of these days, I'm going to get this Pocahontas ancestry and add my own name to it. So for his birthday, actually, I took a picture of Pocahontas' wedding to John Rolfe, and I photoshopped him onto the face of Pocahontas' dad. I didn't know that was the dad. I just thought it was a random Native American, but it was Pocahontas' dad. And so now my dad has a picture of that, and I framed it for him. And I think he put it in his office with all the other pictures of Pocahontas that he has, which is a couple. He really likes her. So as I said earlier, my family ended up moving to Pennsylvania after my sister Kate was born. So I was 6 years old when we moved. I remember celebrating my 7th birthday there at Chuck E. Cheese's with Veronica Gathers and a Spirit birthday cake. Spirit being that movie about the horse that everyone freaked out about. Even I don't know. I haven't seen it in years. But so I moved there. And we moved in the middle of the summer, and I remember in August, right before school started, I was biking at Westminster, like right by Westminster, because we lived in a little place called Gateway. It was housing for professors and just other random people. And I biked right over the side of the road onto a little sidewalk and split my chin, like right here, wide open. I was bleeding everywhere and just crying, and I had to go get stitches. And I got 4 or 5 little black stitches right along my chin. And I had to go to school looking like I had whiskers. I think the first couple of days, no one said anything about it. But then finally, one kid asked me if I had whiskers. And oh my gosh, oh gosh. clearly that was a very important moment in my life because I remembered it all these years. I was not happy about that. But life in PA was good, you know? There are a lot of Amish people there. I'd say it was maybe about half and half. Maybe a little less than half in favor of the English, as they called us. But I feel like it taught me a lot about diversity because, I don't know, they didn't drive cars. We lived with these people, you know, who lived kind of like it was the 1500s. It was cool. I mean, they'd use power tools and stuff if you gave them to them. Some of them had cell phones. I remember sitting at Marty Park, which is next to my house, and I watched this Amish woman walk across the street to the park and just pull out her cell phone and start talking. It was really great. So the Amish were pretty cool. And I don't know, I lived in Pennsylvania for 13 years. I did first grade through 12th grade there, and I also did a full semester at Westminster College where my dad taught, and then my second semester was in South Korea, which I'll talk about later. And I don't know, it was just a nice place to grow up. It was really pretty. I really hated it there when I lived there. I didn't hate it, I just always wanted to be somewhere else. I just wanted to move. But then when I moved out west, I just kind of missed the east, you know? I feel like I'll always miss where I don't live, though. It's just kind of how I am, I guess. I don't know. I do want to go back, though. Back east, not necessarily to Newcastle or New Wilmington where I lived, because things were just rough there some of the time. So when I was probably, let's see, my sister Kate was little. I had to have been like 6 or 7. So right after we moved to Pennsylvania, we went to go to Niagara Falls. And the barrier to keep you from falling over is very tiny. It was horrible. It was very scary. And we ended up, that was right by the falls itself. So we ended up going to this little peninsula thing, and there was a river there. And there was a danger sign next to the trail that led to the river. And I was just, I'm going. Reading was not my strong suit then. So I walked down, and I just felt like I needed to go away from this. But I kept going. I didn't go very far before I decided to go. I remember it being steep and rocky, though, and rocks falling into this river. I got pretty close to it. It was the river that went over Niagara Falls. I almost fell in. It was horrifying looking back on that. I'm just terrified for myself. So I've been scared of Niagara Falls ever since then. I went back once, and I did not enjoy it. It was also really rainy and cold that day. I don't like Niagara Falls. I almost fell in. When I was in Pennsylvania, our senior year, we had to put baby pictures in our yearbook right next to our picture. And I was feeling salty that whole year. Like, the whole 4 years I was in high school. I don't want to do this. I don't care. I'm not getting the yearbook. And so I had this great idea that I was going to print a picture of a mixed race baby. I was going to print out a picture of a mixed, Caucasian, Asian baby. And it was going to be great. But then I realized that the girl who was going to be in after me was Miranda Liu, and she's Vietnamese, or her parents are Vietnamese. She's an American because she was born here. So then I thought, no, people will think our baby pictures got mixed up or something. Little did I know that we actually had Kyler Lum in between us. So I could have done it, but I like what I did a lot better. So what I went and I did was the day it was due, I went down to the library and I Googled Victorian baby pictures. And I wish I had one here to show you. I don't. So I grabbed this picture. It's of this little Victorian baby all gussied up in this crazy outfit, big hat, poofy dress. I think they have striped stockings too. It's a ridiculous picture. And it's sitting on a rocking horse and there's a tree behind it. And it's just staring at the camera like, and so I printed this picture out and I bring it to my homeroom teacher, Mrs. Winters. And she just holds it up and she goes, "This is so cute." And I just, thanks. I was an adorable baby. And I held it up to the whole class and I said, "My baby picture is so cute." And then they printed it in the yearbook and it's there now. And hopefully I don't get sued for copyright violations now. But if you're using a picture for educational reasons, it's okay most of the time. So hopefully I'm protected by that. When I was in junior year of high school, this lady named Rosie Ann Barr came to talk to us about this beauty pageant. Well, it's a scholarship pageant that she did called Junior Miss, and it's a nationwide thing. She was in charge of the one for our area, and it sounded really fun. So you had to have good grades to qualify, so it is slightly a scholarship pageant. So I applied, and I got in. It was weird. So I go to the opening dinner with my parents, and I'm not even kidding you, it's all these cheerleaders and dancers and, majorettes, that sort of thing. And then there's me, and I'm in my sundress and flip-flops. And they're all dressed like glamour queens. And I don't know. I really wanted to do it, though. And my parents are looking at me like I was crazy. And they said, do you really want to do this? And I said yes. Like, I prayed about it, and it just felt really good, and I was really excited to do something new. And I went into this knowing that there was no way I was winning this competition. They had 5 portions, or I think, we had fitness. We had to do a really long aerobic fitness dance. It was hard. We had an interview, which I thought I was going to do pretty well, and I didn't win that one, but I enjoyed it. And we had a talent. I wrote a monologue about Maximum Ride. I called it My First Love. I thought it was a pretty solid monologue. And what else was there? We had to answer a question about what it means to be yourself or something. They had 5 categories. I made up my own. That's probably why I didn't do well on that section. And we just had a lot of dance numbers we had to learn, and we had little sisters and stuff too, and they were really cute. I don't really understand a lot of what went on. It was a really long pageant, but I had so much fun. It was really great, and Mariah kind of got to do it with me from school. I got to know her. She's really sweet. It was just a really great experience, and I did win the highest SAT verbal score because I got a 700, all right? My score was great. I also got a 33 on the ACT for that, on my writing. My reading. The writing was not good. No, my reading got a 33. Very proud of myself. So, Junior Miss was great. I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. But I think there were some girls who just took it really seriously and they were just stressed all the time, but it was a blast. I loved it. So when I was in, I think it was 5th grade, I went to my middle school library and I asked Mrs. Miller, the librarian, if she knew of any books I should read. And she said Maximum Ride by James Patterson. So I went and I checked out The Angel Experiment. And holy cow, I loved that book so much. You have no idea. I read it so many times and memorized the back cover. I absolutely loved it. And then there was School's Out Forever and Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports. These were my favorite books. I was obsessed. I talked about them all the time. It was great. I even got them confused with reality one time in science class. It was super awkward. But they were so influential in my early life because they were just, I'd always loved to read, but those are the first books I remember really flipping out over and really, really loving. So I don't know, they just influenced a lot that I did in my life. I had fan art that I drew hanging on my walls. Actually, just one. I had homemade wings that I'd made for Dress Up Like a Book Character Day. So proud of them. Anyway, the series eventually went off the rails and became really stupid. I think it's still going on. It's annoying. But you know what? I mean, it happens. I haven't read them in years. But they were just really influential in my early life. So my parents always read us and told us stories when we were kids. And I loved it when my dad told me stories. He used to tell me H.P. Lovecraft stories that I thought he'd made up, but no. He was just kind of paraphrasing Lovecraft. I loved it when he told me those stories. One distinct story I remember that wasn't Lovecraft. When I was about 5, it's 5 or 6 or something, he got the Great Illustrated Classics for Dracula. He loved Great Illustrated Classics. And he read it to me, and I remember really enjoying it. I loved reading it with him. And I think that's what got me into horror stories. So those have been my favorite ever, just most of my life. I've just really enjoyed horror stories and horror films. And I think that's what got me into it, and that's had a really big impact on my life. And he used to just tell me lots of different stories. He'd always buy me horror books. Technically they're his. I kind of took all of them with me. I'm pretty sure I think I left his H.P. Lovecraft books with him because he really likes them. But I took all the other ones, and I still enjoy reading them to this day. That was a very good investment on his part. So this is a really funny story about my family. My church, my ward advertised that they were having a carnival. I was very excited. So I went to the MSB, multi-stake building where we were having it. It was a family history carnival. We had balloons and Costco pizza, which was nice. But one of the things we were learning how to do was search on Family Search. And so Leah, the girl who was doing the family search, asked for a name. She said, "Someone just tell me a name of someone they want to look up." It was silent. Nobody said anything for a while, and it was really awkward. So I just yell out, "Boyd Lunnen." It's my grandpa's name. And so she goes to type it in. She types it in. She says, "All right, what year was he born?" And I was just, oh, crap. I don't know what year he was born. So I told her, I don't know. So then she says, "Well, do you know where he was born?" Nope. It's very embarrassing. They didn't know he was my grandpa at this point. I hadn't said. I just said Boyd Lunnen. And so then she said, "Well, approximately what year do you think he was born?" And I said early 1930s. She puts in 1890 to 1930. Like 19 something. And we put in Bertha Lunnen for his wife, and we look him up. And all of these are Boyd Lunnen names pop up, and I realize, oh, his name is Raymond. And I look at this, I'm looking at it, and I say out loud, "His name is Raymond!" And I just kind of yell it out, and everyone starts laughing. And I was just, oh my gosh, I forgot my grandpa's last name. Yep, that was it. We ended up finding him. He has 5 different accounts on, or 5 different people with his name and places he's lived on Family Search. I gotta clear that up probably. So I have 3 favorite books. I have 1 that is most favorite and 2 that are also favorite, but not as favorite as the other. So my most favorite is I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zusak. It's about a guy named Ed Kennedy. He's a total deadbeat, underage cab driver, just kind of a loser. Doesn't ever live up to his potential. He's crazy smart. Well, one day he accidentally stops a bank robbery. It's a complete fluke. I don't really know how he does it. And then he starts getting playing cards in the mail with people's names that need help. And he just ends up becoming such a good person by the end of it. And I just love reading his transformation. It makes me want to be a better person. It makes me so happy. I read it and I'm just, oh my gosh, this is so great. I love it. And I'm also a huge fan of Animal Farm. I don't know why I love it so much. I just do. I think it's fantabulous. It's just great. And I actually own 7 copies of Animal Farm in 6 different languages, I think. I have 2 English copies, a Thai copy, which I lost. I'm going to find it, though. It's got a really great cover. I have a Japanese copy, a Mandarin copy, a Korean copy with illustrations, and I have a Ukrainian copy on the way. And I found a Russian copy on a website. I'm going to have a girl translate it for me, the website, so I can get it. It's just a great book. I feel so smart when I read it. It just cracks me up. The ending line is perfect, where, what's her name, Clover, I think that's her name, the horse is looking through the window and she can't tell the humans from the pigs. I love that line. It's so powerful. Then I'm also a fan of the Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. It's the perfect amount of adventure and fantasy and horror and don't know, just growth. It's kind of like, it kind of parallels I Am the Messenger, because you got this kind of, just not dead-end person. Like, Ed's a dead-end person, but David, the main character of this, is just mean. And you kind of see their transformation, and it's great. I love it. And it is a very scary book. It's a fairy tale for adults, I would say. I think it's a good book for adults to read because it kind of just brings you back to when you were kids and stuff. It's nice. So my favorite author is H.P. Lovecraft. Can't see this right now, but I'm actually wearing my Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos shirt. It's my favorite shirt. I love it very much. I like H.P. Lovecraft because he's consistently good. I'm not a huge fan of the Call of Cthulhu, actually. I don't think that story is that great, but I did like the Dunwich Horror. I'm working my way through his stories. I'm a huge fan of The Picture in the House and Rats in the Walls. Rats in the Walls is choice. But, you know, he's just consistently good, which is why I like him. And I gave a speech on H.P. Lovecraft for my English 359, the short story that I took in spring 2016 semester. And I made these little brochures that say Cthulhu Club and had great pictures and facts about him. And it was just really great. I loved it. I was so proud of myself. I still have a couple of those. It was a really good school project. For a number of years, my favorite movie was Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. I actually own, I think, 4 Alfred Hitchcock shirts because I loved Psycho so much. I think it's a really great film. I enjoy it, and I got to see it on the big screen around Halloween a couple of years ago, and I was sitting there and I realized I don't think this is my favorite movie anymore. I don't know why. I still enjoy it. I think it's a great film. I need to watch it again. My favorite movie right now, though, is Freaks. It's from the 1920s. It's directed by, I want to say, Todd Browning. And it's based off a short story called Spurs, which is also very, very good. And Freaks is about a midget named Hans. He works in a freak show in a circus. And he falls in love with this trapeze artist named Cleopatra. But Cleopatra's dating this dude named Hercules. He's a total butt. He's the strong man, and when Cleopatra finds out that Hans actually inherited a fortune, she decides that she'll marry him and kill him and take the money. And so she does. She tries to kill him. But through a very long series of events, she and Hercules are thwarted. It's a great ending. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it's good. And I just really like that film because it explores the idea of what makes a monster, what makes a man, and that's always been a theme that I really liked in books and cinema. It's very specific, I know, but I quite enjoy it. And I think that's why I like the film. It's also very short, which is nice. I don't like films that drag out for a very long time. So I really like to write, and it's something that I've done throughout, you know, kind of always, I suppose. When I was little, I used to write stories and poems a lot. I wrote a lot of poems about fairies, a lot of stories about fairies. I really believed in fairies. I loved them. And gradually, though, as I grew older, my writing changed. I now write short stories of the horror variety. When I was in Korea on a study abroad, I actually totally just started writing a lot, which was really nice. It was a nice outlet for me, I suppose. I got a lot of stories done there. I wrote this story there called Laundry, and I came back and a couple years later, probably maybe a year and a half, I rewrote it for my writing class at BYU in spring semester 2016. And I really like it. It's a really good story about doing laundry. I'm very proud of it. I should have brought it with me so I could read it out loud. It's very good in my opinion. Hopefully I'll still have a copy of it, you know, when I'm old and people are watching this and then I can read it. I also have this story that I'm working on. It's called Johnny Jumper. It's about what happens when spiders rain down from the sky. I don't know where this story came from. It just kind of fell out. And I very much like it because it's actually not a horror story. I think it's pretty funny. I kind of think it's kind of like magical realism a little bit. I I really like it, and I hope that I can finish it one day. I need to start editing it again. I've got other stuff I'm working on. So there's that story, and I don't know, I write a lot. I have a journal that I've been keeping. I just started on Monday, and I've already filled up probably 6.5 pages. I'm very proud of myself. It's purple. I love it. So when I was in probably 9th grade, I started listening to K-pop, Korean pop music, and I started watching K-dramas probably around 9th and 10th grade, and K-pop was my jam all through high school, and I really loved it. And when I went to Westminster College for my first semester, I found out they had a Korean class, and I got in on the very last day you could possibly get it, and I caught the professor for it as he was leaving the building. It was a miracle. And that was my ring that fell. And I got into the class, and I really loved it. I learned lots of stuff like future tense, past tense, how to write, all this great stuff. And I found out they had a study abroad program to Korea, to Yonsei University, one of the most prestigious universities there. It's the best one they have. Totes love it. And technically, I shouldn't have qualified for it. You needed to be a sophomore. But since I had taken classes in the summer between my junior and senior year of high school, and I had taken a couple classes all through my senior year of high school, I was able to get in. I was so excited. I bought a one-way ticket. I was for sure that, I was just positive that I was going to live in Korea the rest of my life. I was going to find some Korean guy. We were going to get married. I was going to stay there. I was going to go to the Underwood International College at Yonsei. It's just going to be great. So that is how I got into Korea. So when I was in Korea, I took 3 classes at Yonsei University itself and 1 class at the Korean Language Institute that was right next to my dorms. So I took Korean grammar for international learners at Yonsei. I didn't learn a whole lot. My teacher didn't speak English very well, but I got a really great textbook out of it. I also took Korean culture from the same teacher. Didn't learn a lot either. She liked showing K-dramas, and once we were really tired, so she just put on a movie. It was a nice class, though. She's super cool. I have pictures with her. Super nice. Loved us all. Great teacher. I also took Asian philosophy, which turned out to be the exact same class as my Chinese religion class that I took at BYU, or not at BYU, at Westminster. And we even read the same texts. It went in the same order. We talked about Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, which I really like Confucianism. Still don't understand Taoism. Got no idea what's going on with that. I was checked out by the time Buddhism came around, same as Westminster. Still don't know anything about that, but I know about Confucianism. I like it. And at the KLI, Korean Language Institute, I took the first level of Korean. It was rough, 2 hours a day. Very, very hard. I think I got the lowest grade in my class. I was just spaced out all the time. They only spoke Korean in that class. I have no idea really how I passed. Well, no, I do have an idea. I did moderately well. It's just really hard. I didn't really have a lot of friends in that class. So I did have a lot of friends in Korea, which was really nice. There was this club. I joined a club called the Cultural Arts and Theater Society, and I was one of the editors for their magazine, Literati. And so I had a lot of friends from that. It was really great. My closest friend from that, though, was Mike Ruiz, and we did stuff together. He was really cool. I liked hanging out with him. One of my favorite things to do is swing and listen to my iPod, and he really liked doing that too. And he had a park next to his house, so we used to go. And so that was really great. I loved spending time with him. And then I was also friends with the missionaries from our ward. Sister Stancliffe and Sister Johnson, Sister Penny. Those were the missionaries I was friends with. And sister missionaries. And there were other missionaries too that I hung out with. Just kind of at church and stuff, and I'd run into them. Sometimes I'd help them if they were doing something in Shinchon Square. If they had like a message board, I would help them with that. And I also had my Gyoe Chingu, my church friend, as I called him, Kim Dae-young. He had just been baptized. He didn't speak English super well. I didn't speak Korean super well, but I liked hanging out with him. And then there was my other Gyoe Chingu, She had just been baptized. I'm blanking on her name. I feel so bad. But she was really sweet. She was a little younger than me. She was studying English. She wanted to go to school in Texas because she had family who lived there. I don't know if she got in. I really hope she did. And then there was Walker. I met Walker at the English class that the missionaries taught. I always went to that, and I'd help them with that. Walker was really cool. He spoke English so well. And I just remember spending the day with him one day. We went to the kimchi museum, which I love because I love kimchi. And we went to this really great restaurant where he bought me amazing food. And we went and saw the house where they filmed Architecture 101, which was one of Mike's favorite movies because he loves the actress Susie. And we went to this market. It was so great. I really liked it. It was really sweet of him. And there was another lady at our church. I'm trying to remember what her name is. I feel bad. She invited me over to her house for dinner, and that was the sweetest thing. Because she didn't speak English. I didn't really speak Korean. She was always saying hi to me. She invited me over. And one of the senior missionaries went with us to translate. She'd studied nutrition in America. She's Korean, spoke fluent English and Korean. It was fabulous. She translated. Oh man, I loved both of them. And then I also had my friends Lucy and Andrew. They were married. So awesome. I loved spending time with them. And Andrew actually worked for an NGO that helped North Korean refugees with finding healthcare in Korea. And so I went and did this program with him, and I met a refugee there who's fluent in English. His English was fantastic. He was really cool. We would do stuff with him sometimes. I really liked him. And then there were Dan and Emmy. They let me stay with them when I first moved to Korea, and I stayed with them a couple other nights throughout the stay. They were really cool. Dan worked on the military base, and Emmy was a stay-at-home mom. They had 4 kids. They had Reed and Gideon and Caleb and Lincoln. Lincoln was just a baby. I wonder if they've had any more kids. They're super cool. I really loved all of them. Let me think if I had any more friends there. When I went to Korea, I went with this guy named Brian Gallo, and he had a friend there named Kelly, so we did stuff together, you know. I wouldn't say we were super close. They were there, and then Kelly became friends with this girl named Lacey. They were friends, definitely. Did stuff with them. I wasn't ever really close with any of them, though. But we did stuff together. It was nice to have someone. I ended up going to a Korean ward. I was really excited. It was only about maybe a 25-minute walk from my house. It was really nice. And so, there was an English language gospel doctrine class there. And at my ward in Pennsylvania, I had been called as gospel doctrine teacher, and I never did it because it scared me so much. I hated it. And I got there to Korea, and I was called as gospel doctrine teacher, English language. Yep. I think I slayed it, though. I did a really good job. There was, I had Dan in the class. He would talk a lot, and there was another man who's so nice. I love that family. I can't remember what his last name was. I feel bad. But he would just talk, and I was just, oh my gosh, I love you. Thank you so much. It was so great. He and his wife had 5 kids. They were so adorable. All beautiful blonde hair. And then I just hung out with the missionaries a lot. They were my friends. I loved hanging out with them. And on my last Sunday in church, I actually bore my testimony in Korean. It was a fast Sunday. It was really exciting. I was very proud of myself. I wrote it out, and I read it off a piece of paper. And I know it wasn't great Korean. The missionaries proofread it for me, the morning of, helped me correct some stuff, but I think I did a pretty solid job. I was really proud of it. And I feel like I was pretty active in our church activities. They had family home evening at Dan and Emmy's house every other Sunday for the young single adults. It was really great. I loved it there. So after I've been living in Korea probably about 3 months, I lived there for 4.5, I got this Kakao Talk message from this girl. I couldn't remember who she was. She was in my ward, but she sent me this really long message saying, hey, I know this guy I think you'd be really great with. Would you be willing to go on a date with him? Blah, blah, blah. And I was pretty lonely, so I said, oh, heck yes, girl. So And she starts texting me. She's telling me about him. She's saying he's the greatest guy in the world, blah, blah, blah. And then she says, well, to tell you the truth, he's my brother. And I was, oh, well, that's fine. Why didn't you say that earlier? But, it's fine. We'll do this. She keeps talking about him, how great he is, how spiritual, how he'll take care of me. And then she says, if you meet him and you fall in love, would you be willing to marry him within the year? And I was, that's really fast. That's really fast, but, if it's true love, then whatever. And she told me he was at BYU for a special summer thing. And I said, well, I'm moving back to Oregon. That's not anywhere close to BYU. And she was convinced that somehow we would make this work. I don't really know. And I was just sure, whatever. So she gives me his Katak ID and we start messaging each other and he seems okay. Whatever, he just seems fine. So we message and then the sister invited me over to her house for dinner. I was really, really excited that they were going to feed me dinner. And she said, what's your favorite food? I was just, kimchi fried rice. Let's do this. So she said, oh, my mom's going to make that for you then. And so I go over and sure enough, her mom has made me kimchi fried rice. I loved it. I was so excited. And then we, just ate other soup. There was seaweed soup. There were potatoes, I think. There's a lot of food. It was really, really great. But then they start talking about this marriage plan that they have. I'm not kidding. They had our marriage and our life afterwards just completely 100% planned out. I was just, oh my gosh. So the plan was that I was going to go to America. I was going to meet Brian and we were going to fall in love and get married that year. And then we were going to move to Korea. And they were going to pay for me to go to school. The mom was going to pay for me to go to school, finish it. And she, I guess, was in charge of a bunch of English schools, so probably a bunch of Hagwons, like English cram schools, I think. I'm not 100% positive. That's just my guess. And I was going to be in charge of one of them. That was going to be my job for the rest of my life. And I would be allowed to go visit my parents whenever I wanted. My parents could come visit me whenever. But I would live in Korea. And I said, at this point, I knew that I did not want to live in Korea. And I said, but I want to go home. I want to live with my family. I don't want to live here and run an English school. I mean, I didn't say it as bluntly as that, but I said, I want to live at home. I don't want to live away from my family. And she says, no, you'll love it here. It'll be great. We'll pay for your school. We'll pay for everything. And I was just, no. So I was there for probably 3 hours maybe, and I ended up leaving. I think it was fine. I think that, I don't know. But I left. Brian and I did not really message after that. He's not really someone that I wanted to date. He was nice, but I could tell that this was not going to go anywhere, and I was not going to live in Korea running a hagwon for the rest of my life. So it was a pretty funny experience overall, though. Impromptu marriage meeting also helps me win 2 truths and a lie. A couple of years ago, in 2014, actually, there was a ferry leaving from Seoul to go to Jeju Island, and it had a bunch of high school students on it. And the ferry ended up sinking, and the crew abandoned ship, and about 200 high school students died. Or just hundreds of people, most of them high school students, died on the ship. It was really horrible and tragic, and the rescue operation was just not very good. As far as I'm aware, it wasn't very good. But there were staging protests actually for it while I was in Korea because it was the year anniversary. It was in April. And the protests were happening in the town square. So the town square in Korea was, you have the square, and then right above it you have Gwanghwamun Palace, the historical palace of King Sejong. And then behind that you have the Blue House, which is where President Moon lived. I think that's her last name. Nope, that's the ambassador's name. I don't know what this president's name was. President Park or something. She's a lady. And Gwanghwamun Palace, though, is really, really big. So it was a pretty big difference from where all the protesters were. They were in the town square. And so they were protesting, like, government's handling of it, I think. I'm not entirely sure. But they were really upset, though, because they wanted to be with the victims' families. They kept the police. There were police everywhere there. So many police buses, so many police lines. Roads were blocked off. They were keeping the protesters separate from the victims' families, and the protesters wanted to be able to be with them. And so I was in the town square trying to go to Kyobo bookstore, which was underground. You enter it through the subway, and it has an English language section. I wanted to go to Kyobo. And I also kind of want to see the protests. And so I went there, and I'm standing on the steps of this building. I'm not sure what it was. I'm watching it, and I slipped, and I cut my foot. It's not even really a big deal. But I'm just wearing a skirt, a shirt, and flip-flops. And this is going to be important later. And I'm watching down in the corner of this protest area. All of a sudden, the people start freaking out, and they charge the police barricades. The police have all these shields. They charge them. They're running against them. There are fences set up to keep them out. And the police, I think they started, I don't know, I started seeing something flying around, gas or water. I don't really know what it was. So the protest died down a little bit, I think. And I went down there to see what was going on. So dumb sometimes. I went to that corner, and I was just checking to make sure the mic was working. So I went down to that corner to go look, and the protest started again. And so here I am, stuck in the middle of this. And I remember watching a protester grab this metal pipe, and I think he was about to hit a policeman. I didn't really see. I have distinct memory of stepping on a police shield that was on the ground. Like, we broke through this fence that was there. And I remember at one point losing my flip-flop and falling on the ground. And I thought, no, oh my goodness, I'm going to die. I'm going to get trampled to death. But someone pulled me up. I think it was probably a few people pulled me up, and I grabbed my shoes. So I'm just holding them. I'm barefoot now. And I'm just stuck in this tide. I've surged forward, and I look on the ground, and I see this policeman on the ground. He's having this seizure thing. His body is spasming everywhere. It was so, oh my gosh. And the crowd is just pushing against this guy. He's laying on the ground. He cannot get up. And so I'm trying to pull him up, but he's spasming so hard that I can't. And the crowd is pushing against me. And there are a ton of other policemen trying to get this guy off the ground. And I remember a protester standing next to me screaming at people that they needed to move because this man was hurt. I have no idea what was wrong. There was something very wrong with this man, though. And we could not get him up. And I finally realized that there was nothing that I could do. So I turned around, and I went into shock, I think. I must have looked just completely horrifying, because I remember being able to get out of that crowd really easily. And I was just screaming that he was dead. I was just, oh my gosh. Like, I thought I had just seen someone die. And I ran out of there. And I ran onto the steps of this theater that was showing Cats. And I remember these women came and sat with me. They had just left the showing. It was so nice. They came and sat with me. And there was a medic there who bandaged my foot. They all thought I'd gotten hurt in the protest. And I tried to explain that I had just slipped on the stairs of this other building. It was pretty ironic. But I was physically unhurt from this. And I just remember crying, and this woman came up to me and she said, "Did they hurt someone? Did someone really die?" I think she was looking for something to vindicate the government with. That is the impression that I got. So I was, no, he's not dead. No one killed anyone. But I was really shaken up. And they broke down the entire barricade. So people got in to go be with the victims' families. And I ended up wandering over there just to see, and I ran into this reporter from Holland. And she asked me questions about it, and she said, "Well, do you think you're still going to go to Kyobo bookstore?" And I felt kind of like a dud, because I totally went there after this. I witnessed this horrifying thing, and then I just continued on as if it was a normal day. And after that, I remember going to Norito, this cafe that Kelly, Lacey, and Brian really liked. And I just sat in the little alcove with them, and I cried. And I put all my pictures and videos on Instagram. I talked to people on Instagram about it a little bit, this one guy. And I ended up actually going back to my dorm, and I just sat in the lobby and I cried. It was horrible. And I spent the night with Emmy and Dan. I got on the last subway there at 11. It was really nice of them to let me stay. And I remember that later they went, Dan and I think, Googled to see if anyone had died, any police officers had died in the protest. And they couldn't find anything about it. I don't know what happened to this police officer. I really hope he's okay, though, and that he didn't really suffer any damage. I wish that I knew, but I probably won't ever know. I just really hope that he's okay, though. I pray for him. I hope everything worked out and that people were safe. And I just remember the destruction after this event was just horrible. There were police buses that had been vandalized and spray painted. Things were broken. I just, protests are scary. That's what this boils down to. Don't go to a protest. My family moved to Oregon when I lived in South Korea, and I came back and I needed a job. I didn't know anybody. And I ended up getting a job at a retirement community. So there's so many in the area right next to my house. Just probably a 15-minute walk away. Probably 10 minutes, actually. It's called the Springs at Anna Maria. And it was the best job I ever had. I mean, I like my other job better now. My current job better now. But Springs at Anna Maria was fabulous. All of my friends worked there. It's where all my friends came from. Summer, Brittany, Emily, Diana. It was just really great. Liberty. And I was one of the lead servers there. And all the residents were so great. I became super close to them. I learned all their names. I knew what they liked to eat and what they didn't. And they all really liked me, and I loved it there. Everyone was so nice. And I made some of my best friends there. It was a really great job for me to have, and I'm so grateful that I got it. So the friends that I met at Anna Maria were super Christian, really Christian. It was fabulous. I'd never really had a lot of super duper religious friends. And one of them, Summer Parnell, she started this Bible study. It's been going on for a while, I think a year maybe. And, you know, I heard she and Brittany were talking about it, and I was just, I need friends. I want to go. And so I said something about it. I was just, guys, what's this Bible study you have going? And they invited me. They didn't really know me then. And holy cow, it's the most spiritual thing ever. Her Bible study is so great. I love it. She just has this great apartment. We're all really close and we're all just hanging out. And I love it there. It is so spiritual. We were reading Acts while I was there, and Summer does all this great research on it. I really learned a lot. She should come to BYU and be a religion teacher. She'd slay it. One of my favorite things to do is to go swing at the park on the swing set and listen to my iPod. I absolutely love that. And I tend to go at night because I don't want parents to think I'm a pedophile watching their children. I'm very self-conscious about it. I don't like people watching me swing. And when it's night, I can't really see other people's faces, so therefore they can't see mine, and they don't know it's me, and blah, blah, blah. So I tend to go at night. And I was there at the park one night. I finished, and this was Kiwanis Park. And I put my key ring around my neck. At least I thought I did. I know I was holding it when I left, and I kind of thought I put it on while I was walking. But I guess I didn't. I dropped it, and I didn't know. And I walked away home that I didn't usually do because I wanted to stop at the creamery to get some groceries. And when I was on my way there, I walked past this house where this lady was doing yard work, and there's a little girl dancing on the lawn. And it was dark, and so I was just, why is she doing yard work? And I felt like, oh, you know, you should go ask her if you need help. And I was, no, I don't know this woman. She doesn't know me. That'd be weird. So I walk to the creamery. I get my groceries. I'm walking home, and I just feel really strongly, you need to go ask this woman if she needs help. I just, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not. I was very adamant. And I didn't know I'd lost my keys at this point until I get to Roman Gardens, and I just kind of stop on my way to the door. Like, I literally just freeze. And I'm looking around for, I'm not moving. It's dark, so no one really knows that I'm just looking for my keys. They probably thought it was weird. So I realized my keys were gone. And I went inside, and I said, hey, Jessie, can you drive me to the park? I lost my keys. And she agreed. She was in the middle of doing homework. It was nice that she stopped. And so we drove to the park, and we drove past this woman's house, and she's still doing yard work nearly an hour later. And I'm just at this point, oh gosh, all right, God, I get this. And so we hop out, and we go walk down a way that I don't remember walking this way to get out of the park. But I guess I did because we found my keys right there. Like seriously, probably after a minute and a half of walking, probably less, we found my keys. This is great. Fabulous. And so we get in the car, and I say, Jessie, I think we should go ask that woman if she needs help. I was really nervous about what Jessie would think, but she said sure. She agreed. So we park, we drive by her house, we park, and we get out, and we just kind of walk over. Hey, do you need any help? Super awkward. And she just stares at us for a second. And she says, sure, you can put my kids to bed. We just kind of stared at her for a second. We thought she was joking, but she was serious. She had 2 kids, McKenna and Grayson, probably around 7 and 5, and she wanted us to put them to bed. So we did the whole bedtime routine with them. We helped them brush their teeth, they put on pajamas, we read them 2 stories. Like one of them was a Dr. Seuss. There's I don't know, some weird book, and then we read Monsters, Inc. And I remember, though, there was a pretty awkward, funny moment when I go downstairs. It's a really small house, so I go downstairs to help Grayson brush his teeth, and I walk into this room, and there's this man laying on the bed watching a documentary on Netflix about Nazi weapons. And I just kind of look at him, and he looks at me, and I said, your wife asked me to help put the kids to bed. I didn't just walk in your house, I promise. And he took it all in stride. He was really cool about it. His name was Scott. The woman's name was Dawn. And so we left. So Scott actually just kind of left. We just left the house. It was weird. So, we did the whole bedtime routine. We put them to bed. So while Grayson and McKenna was the girl, those are the kids, Grayson and McKenna, were brushing their teeth, Dawn came down. Jessie's in the bathroom with them. I'm standing outside, and Dawn just looks at me, and she called us angels, and she said, thank you for coming. An hour ago, I had dropped to my knees and prayed because I told God there was no way I could finish all of this that I had to do. I felt really bad because I had been walking past an hour ago, right after she had said her prayer. But at the same time, I was really glad that I went and got Jessie, though. So she went with me, and we were able to serve her together. But I feel like everything would have worked out even if I went by myself. But I'm glad I gave Jessie the opportunity too. I was really glad I had her there. And I remember Dawn saying a prayer, thanking God for sending us to help them. And that was really sweet. And we left. And we left Dawn our phone numbers to call if she ever needed us. And we went home. And I remember a few days later, I really felt like I needed to go see Dawn again. And so I walked over. She was doing yard work. We chatted, said a prayer together. I left. A few days later, I felt like I needed to go see her again. So I walk over. She's not outside. All the lights are on, though. And I was just, crap, I don't want to do this. I want to knock on the door. And so I literally went across the street, sat on someone's little ledge, this little weird wall thing they had around their yard, and I cried. I was just like, I can't do this. God, why are you having me do this? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to knock on the door and ask to see her. But you need to come with me because I'm doing this. And so I went and I knocked on her door, and Scott answered, and all I said was, I was walking in my period. I was like, I know, Dawn. I was walking in my period. Sorry, can I please use your bathroom? And he was super cool. I met Grayson and McKenna's older sister, because Grayson and McKenna are adopted. I met their oldest sister, super chill. Dawn was busy, didn't see her. I don't really know why I was supposed to go over there, but I did it. A few days later, Dawn called Jessie and I and asked us to babysit. We couldn't. But, it's nice to have that connection, I suppose. So that was really cool. I started off BYU as an English major because I thought you had to declare a major. I knew that that's not what I wanted to do, but I thought I needed to have one. So I declared English major. I actually came to BYU. I switched to an interdisciplinary humanities major. I thought I would love it. I took the intro class and I hated it. So halfway through the intro class, I switched to history because it's the major that I disliked least. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and history seemed cool, and I'd taken a history class spring semester. I really liked it. I took my intro class in fall of 2016, and my historian's craft class in spring of 2016. So, I don't know. I just took some history classes. I really liked them. And I just decided this is what I want to do. I'd always been interested in medical history. I'd read books on it when I was younger. So I just decided that was the major that I should do. And I've taken a lot of cool classes at BYU. And like I said, I took historian's craft, which was really important for helping me decide to be a history major. One of the most important classes, though, I think that I took was actually my creative writing class, which is spring semester 2016. I took it with Stephen Tuttle, and it was really great. I made really great friends there. It was really, really small, which was perfect because we all became pretty close. And we ended up forming a creative writing club called Tuttle Mania, which was really cool. We still meet today to talk about writing. We're supposed to talk about writing and read our books. We talk about everything under the sun, and it's really great. And there's some of my closest friends. One of these days we'll make it official, but right now it's just us. We haven't been meeting winter semester, but hopefully we can start meeting again soon. When I was at BYU, my first 2 semesters, spring, summer, I lived at King Henry Apartments. And I was just hanging out in my room late at night. I come out, and all these people are there. And they're hanging out with my roommates, Taryn and Taylor. And they decided that, this is around 11. They decided that they were going to go look for Ted Bundy's cabin up in the mountains. I can't remember where. Somewhere in Salt Lake, an hour, a little bit away. And my roommate Natalie was there too. And they decided that it would be a really great idea if we went up there to go find the foundation of this cabin, because that was all that was left. Apparently Ted Bundy had taken his victims there. And I was just, heck yes. So I get in the car with them. It's super awkward. There wasn't enough space, so Natalie ended up sitting on this random guy's lap the entire way. And she kept complaining about it. So I was just, fine, Natalie, I'll switch with you. I was smaller than her. So we get there, and I'm just wearing short shorts. I'm wearing my Cthulhu shirt I'm wearing now. I have flip-flops on. None of us had thought to bring flashlights, except this one kid who had a headlamp. There's probably about 15 of us. Nobody had thought. I was just, oh my gosh, are you serious, guys? So we start walking up this road in the mountains, this random unpaved road, and we kind of get to this little just stopped area, just a little flat area, and I had to go to the bathroom so badly. So I say, hey guys, just hold up for a second. I'm gonna go use the bathroom. It was really dark out, but I figured I'll just walk 15 feet. I'll be fine. Like, no one's gonna be able to see anything. I can find my way. So it's pitch black, and I can see them all standing with their cell phones a little ways over, and I'm just walking. And I'm walking, and then I step, and all of a sudden there's nothing underneath me, and I was just, crap. And the next thing I know, like, I'm just hitting the ground over and over and over again, and I'm rolling down, and I land in this giant bush sticking out from this cliff face, kind of. I kind of walked over the side of a cliff, and so I'm just in this bush. I open my eyes, and there's a ton of broken glass right next to my face. I didn't land in it. I kind of take inventory. I realize one of my shoes is missing. I just have one flip-flop on, and I kind of sit there for a second, and I think, what should I do now? And my first thought is to go, oh, yep. And so I said, well, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So I did. I think I yelled it. And I guess I'd been yelling that the entire time I was falling too. So no one really knew what had happened for a second. And so they were all just kind of, what? And so a couple of them did run over, though. This kid, Ian, who had instigated it, and the kid with the headlamp. And so the kid with the headlamp, they just go down there, both of them, and they just pull me out. They grab me. I guess I'd only fallen about 5 feet, but I hit the ground. I remember hitting the ground a ton of times. So they pull me out, and then I say, oh, my flip-flop's missing. And so the kid with the headlamp goes down to find it. He finds it miraculously and tells me that if I had fallen maybe another 7 feet, I would have landed in a rocky stream. So, man, God saved me. And he grabs my flip-flop, gives me the headlamp. I go pee. And we go back up. We walk up these roads. And, oh my gosh, we couldn't find his cabin. We ended up waiting outside this gate for forever while Ian and a couple other kids walked up this road to go see if it was there. And they ended up actually breaking the lock on the gate. I was just, guys, are you serious? So they walk up there. We're waiting down here for forever. And I guess Ian just opened the door to someone's house and went in and was looking for it. And I was just, gosh, that's breaking and entering. I don't know what he was doing. Someone lived in this house. It was a lived-in house. I don't know what he was doing. So after that, we just kind of gave up. I wanted to keep looking, and I still want to go during this summer. I'll find someone to go with me, and we'll find it. And we ended up going back to the cars, and I said, all right, I'll sit in this dude's lap because we were so crowded. And I sit in this guy's lap the entire way home. It's so uncomfortable, so not safe. He falls asleep. We get back to King Henry, and I'm just feeling super awkward about this. So I look at this guy, and I'm sorry, that must have been really uncomfortable for you. And he said, no, I didn't mind. And I was just KAT, I'm out of here. So I left. I haven't seen that kid since, thank heavens. So the first job I got at BYU was as JFSB custodial. Don't ever work JFSB custodial, all right? The people there were great. I loved them, but that building is haunted. I did not believe in ghosts until I worked there. I still don't really believe in ghosts, but there's something wrong with the JFSB. I hate having classes there. When I started working there, people always told me there would be ghosts, and I said, no. No, there's no such thing as ghosts. But I remember working, and I was in one of the humanities computer labs, and they have this room that's a recording booth. It's really freaky. Oh my gosh. You're here at 5-something in the morning. It's just a scary room. I don't know how to explain it. But I went to go clean the lab one morning, 5-something, and I noticed it was open. Someone had just left this place open. It was freaky. It was freaking me out. And then another day, someone left it open. I went to close it, and the machines just turned on. I was just, oh my gosh, what is wrong with this? And actually, the humanities lab was a really gross room, too. People left toenail clippings all over it. I had to clean them up. It's disgusting. All over the room. So it was probably multiple people. It was gross. But back to the ghosts. I remember in the JFSB, they have a preschool that stretches along a really long way. And it locks at both ends so no one can get in. And in the morning, you keep it locked. So I'm in this preschool by myself. There's no one there, and it's locked. And we all have these key rings that we wear, and they jingle. And so I'm hanging out. I've got my iPod in, though. But I can't remember if I had one earbud in or not. I can't remember. But I remember hearing keys jingle. Like, I hear someone walking down the hallway because I hear their keys jingling. And I was just, what the crap? So I go out there, and there's nobody there. There's no one. And actually, earlier, before the key jingling thing, like a couple weeks or days earlier or whatever, I'd been in the preschool, and I actually heard a door slam. Like, I was locked in there. And actually, this might have been the same day. I can't remember. And I heard a door, like, in the hallway slam. And I went out there to check, because I thought maybe it was outside of the preschool hallway. So I went out there. There's nobody there. No one. So there was that, too. And then later, after the key jingling, I was pretty freaked out. I don't know what's going on. I'm cleaning it, and then I heard my manager, Alma, talking outside the room I was in. I could hear her talking. It was her voice, very distinctly. So I went out of the room. It wasn't her. There was no one there. That is the last time I cleaned the preschool. And she actually did stop by later. And I told her, I was like, listen, there's something wrong here. Blah, blah, blah. This is no. She sent Mike down to come help me. And he vacuumed, and I never cleaned the preschool again. I just said, I'm not doing this. I never told her. I think I might have told her. I can't remember. But I don't know. There's something wrong with the JFSB. It's a very pretty building, but I mean, chairs would move, computers would turn on. There was somebody in that preschool with me. There are places that are haunted. So after a couple, I knew that this 4:30 a.m. custodial job was not what I wanted to do. So I applied for a bunch of other jobs on campus. Not a bunch. I can't remember really what else I applied for. But one of them was a job at the Family, Home, and Social Sciences Dean's Office as a student writer. And I was just, oh my gosh, I want this job. So I applied for it. And I remember being really good about following the commitments because I really wanted this. I'm pretty sure I fasted for it on Fast Sunday. I prayed all the time that I would get it. And I got it. I didn't think I would, but I got it. I was so happy. So I've been there. I'll have been there a year in July. July is when my first article was published. I'm not entirely sure when I started. But It was so good. It's so good. I love it. Right now, I guess what my jobs are to run the Facebook. I write for the blog. I write for Connections, the magazine, and I write articles if other departments need them. I go to events, that sort of thing. So Facebook is my baby. I love it. I'm always doing stuff with it. Not as much anymore because I'm super busy, but I love Facebook. I love our Facebook. It's my baby. I have a lot of articles right now. I have 40 something. It's really great. And we're doing Connections right now. I'm writing an article about Dr. Coyne's princess study. Very exciting. And about Dr. Wade Jacoby's work with the Transatlantic Academy, which is focusing on Germany this year and its relationship with America. So I've done a lot of research on that. I'm pretty much an expert, not an expert now, far from it, but I can talk to you about TTIP and German-American relations. I know about Angela Merkel now, the phone tapping scandal, and I feel pretty educated about a lot of things because of this job. It's so great. It's a really extensive job too. We cover a lot. Family, Home, and Social Sciences, we cover the School of Family Life, social work, sociology, neuroscience, women's studies, geography, history, psychology, poli-sci, econ. There's so much. There's some other ones that I know for a fact. The Red Center, Charles Red Center. Civic engagement. I do a lot of stuff with civic engagement. They're very active, which is nice. Good about updating their website. I know there's some other things I'm probably forgetting, but it's really great. I love it there. And I'm working on some articles now for the School of Family Life magazine, and none of them are coming together very well because no one wants to get back to me, but hopefully they work out. I love it there. And I've applied for some other writing jobs for spring, summer. I applied for one at BYU Broadcasting, so hopefully I get that. It pays more. I'm going to keep my dean's office job. I love it. I'm going to ask for a raise. Hopefully I get it. And I also emailed the Relate Institute to see if they needed a writer because they haven't updated their blog since November 9th. And I used their articles for our Facebook, so I'm just going to see if they need someone. That'd be a cool job to have too. So when I was a humanities major, we had to take this class, Intro to Humanities College, which was more of a life skills class. It was really good. It was only a credit. I didn't really enjoy most of it, but I did get some good things out of it. One of which was that it's really good to have a volunteer job. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to volunteer with a museum because I want to work in a museum. That's what I think I want to do. I'm not positive. It'd be super cool to work for the Mutter Museum in Philadelphia. So I decided that I'm going to go get a volunteer job at the Bean Museum. So I went, and there was no one to see me. So I went again, and there was still no one. So I went again, and I made an appointment to see someone, and then I forgot about my appointment, and I missed it. So then we made another appointment, and she had a family emergency, this woman that I was supposed to meet with, so she couldn't go. So then I went in randomly, and she was there, and she saw me, and she called down Sean from the insect collections, and I had a job. It was so great. So I learned how to pin insects and how to point mount them. I love it. I got to pin butterflies. I even have a butterfly I pinned at a special Lepidoptera event that the museum was holding. I just love the Bean Museum. And I haven't been able to do my job during winter semester. It's very upsetting. I'm really hoping to come back during spring, summer and do it. I want to pin those butterflies. Somebody has to. And I was getting pretty good at it, I think. I even pinned some swallows too. And Sean said I did a really good job. I'm really excited about it, and I hope I can go back. I lived at King Henry when I first moved to BYU. I just picked something off the map that would let me have a private room spring, summer, because that's when my first semesters were. And I moved to King Henry, which is great. I thought my roommates and I were kind of friends. And we were. It was fine, you know. Very loud there. I didn't really like my apartment. It wasn't super nice. It was not bad by any means at all. Big kitchen, which was nice. But then I moved to Roman Gardens, which was across the street. And holy cow, is it awesome. My roommates and I are super close. I love it. I have a great apartment. It's smaller than my one at King Henry. But there's less people. I only share a bathroom with one girl, Jenny. She's my roommate. We're really close. I love her. And then we have Rebecca and Jessie, which I love them both so much. And then we have our 5th roommate, Chase, Rebecca's fiance. Super chill too. I love him. He helps me with my Korean homework. And anyway, it's just Roman Gardens is a really small complex, and all the doors face inward into an inner courtyard, so we all know each other really well. 3 of the walls make up a ward. 1 wall makes up a ward with a different apartment complex. So we don't know them as well. But I know the people in my ward really well, most of them. And we're all just really close, and I love it. There's such a sense of togetherness, and it's been really nice for me these past 2 semesters. And my original contract went till August, but I renewed it till next August. So I'm going to be here for a while. I don't like moving. Hopefully a lot of my word is staying over spring, summer, so I'm really happy about that. And I don't know, I'm just really happy there. So if you need somewhere to live at BYU, come to Roman Gardens. I mean, I guess you guys probably figured since I go to BYU that I'm LDS. And I'm Mormon, which is really nice. I like it a lot. And I don't know, I guess that I've always known that it's true. And I've had that confirmed to me many times, especially with that recent experience with Dawn. And it's just helped me through a lot of things. And I'm really glad that I have that spirit in my life and that I've been blessed to feel it with me most of my life. And I really hope that everyone can feel that at some point. And I'm really grateful for where I grew up, too. I grew up next to a lot of church history, Palmyra, in Kirtland. I went to girls' camp on the John Johnson farm, literally on sacred ground. I was really blessed with that. And I just have a really strong testimony of temples and families, that we can be together forever and we can be sealed. And that, to me, is one of the most precious, important things, that I can be with my family forever. And I just love that. I'm so grateful for it. And I'm really grateful for good roommates that I can do roommate prayer with every day, and good friends, and just having God in my life. And I say that in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.